Hello again, everybody. We continue our BI validation track. We have another distinguished leader joining us. Sowjanya Bobbadi is with iLink. She's a seasoned professional in BI and analytics leader. She'll be leading our session focused on the hidden cost of bad data, why automation is a business imperative. You can take it away, Sowjanya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Matt. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is going to be our agenda. I hope you all are able to see my screen. We'll quickly brief about the introduction of what are we going to talk about. Quick glance at what is iLink Digital, and followed by the major content that we're going to discuss about hidden cost of bad data. Identifying a real-time use case and see what could be the challenges and move on. Briefly about myself, I am Sowjanya Bobbadi. I'm a director of business analytics and a client partner at iLink Digital. And if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, here is the scan. You can connect me on the LinkedIn. Moving on, briefly about iLink. iLink is a digital transformation solutions company focused on helping enterprises achieve outcomes like increased growth, efficiency, and improved customer experience through various digital solutions. Founded in 2002, and we are in the industry for more than 20 plus years now. We are highly recognized by platform partners like Microsoft, AWS, Salesforce, UiPath, and etc. So we are one of the 20 most valuable Microsoft solutions provider in the world. Today we have 3,000 plus consultants globally with significant footprint across 25 locations such as US, Mexico, Europe, UK, Canada, Middle East, and Portugal, etc. And briefly about our offerings, we span across end-to-end digital transformation services, including digital strategy, guiding business transformation with technology-led strategies, data and AI, predominantly product engineering and cloud, IoT, Salesforce, RPA, advanced communication services, and so on. With respect to the industries that we cover, such as health and life sciences, telecom and media, oil and gas, retail, banking and finance, manufacturing, etc.
Sorry to interrupt, Sowjanya. If you're not in presentation mode, it might help if you can put the screen in presentation mode. We're not seeing everything, I don't think, that you're seeing.
Yeah, I am in presentation mode, if you can see that. Let me again present it.
Now we don't see any presentation.
Are we good now? Yeah.
Yes, we're good now.
Yeah,
great.
Thank you for confirming. Sorry for that, everyone. Continuing with where we are with respect to iLink data and AI overview, the business unit that I'm representing today is a full stack offers integrated services across business analytics, data engineering, and AI/ML. We have a focus 750 plus consultants here with skills of data architects, data scientists, data engineering, and etc. We've been awarded Microsoft Partner Award consecutively twice in the year for 2021 and 2022, which is considered as Oscar in the space. We are also one of the few Fabric Future partners since private preview, recognized as a solution partner in different specializations in data and AI, Azure Space, data warehouse, migrations, analytics, AI, and machine learning. This is briefly about what I represent. I'll quickly move on. What we're going to talk about today, a brief overview about what could drive bad decision making. In the era of data-driven decision making, where organizations are heavily investing and working with analytic platforms, definitely bad data silently costs millions in various aspects. That's what we are going to talk about in this webinar, where what are the hidden financial and business impact of poor data quality and demonstrate why BI automation is no longer optional. And this is a must, validated go for solution like Datagaps BI Validator, which could help enterprises ensure trusted, reliable, and consistent insights. Now, if we look into more details, I would like to start quickly with reality check. I'm sure many of you here completely trust the data behind your dashboards. And if you look at what is put here is, let's begin with the left side. the modern enterprise analytics today is extremely powerful. We are talking about cloud data warehouses, complex ETL pipelines, a real-time ingestion, multiple BI platforms, all working together. Now, but as this ecosystem grows and more intricate, it also becomes more fragile, putting all of this together. Now, each stage of this data transformation and dependency introduces potential vulnerabilities. Now, the more powerful our analytics stack is, the higher the risk of something quietly breaking underneath behind the scenes. Now, I'm sure we all have experienced the dashboard suddenly showing wrong numbers because of the schema changes or refresh issues and many more issues that may not be obvious when we deal with dashboards. Now, exactly that's the struggle I'm talking about, which is on modern analytics teams. Now, on the right, here's where cracks start to show. Now, you might have subtle schema changes, conflicting formulae, or version mismatches that silently distort metrics, and migrations or refresh schedules. Those can easily disrupt data integrity. Now, the result of this is multiple BI tools across the organization end up showing different truths. Finance could say something, operations could say another, and suddenly the trust erodes. Now, we've been in this scenario where two teams could kind of have a discussion which dashboard is right, what are the right numbers, and that's a confusion exactly what we mean by cracks in the foundation. Now, so here is the real question I want you all to reflect on. Are your high stakes decisions truly based on the data you trust or the data you hope is correct? Now, and that brings us to this takeaway: data without validation is an assumption and not an insight. If we don't validate our data, we are not really analyzing, we are just guessing it. So that's where the BI automation steps come in. I believe it's not a luxury; it's business imperative. Now, speaking about what could be why and what could be the reasons for BI automation that could be business imperative. Now, let's start with the obvious, which is nothing but data quality assurance. Today, manual validation is like trying to find a typo in thousand-page books. You will always miss something. Now, with automation, you can systematically detect a schema mismatches, calculation errors, and hidden inconsistencies before they hit production. Now think about scaling it. Modern organizations might have hundreds, even thousands of reports. Manual regression testing just can't keep up with the scaling. Now, BI automation allows you to test everything consistently and rapidly. No fatigue, no mischecks, no waiting for the weekends to finish validation. It's not just faster, it's consistent. Every test, every time, every report. Now, and then there's a hidden cost means teams that underestimate rework. Of course, all of us would have come across this scenario where we identify something going wrong at the end of the development, and we end up doing a lot of rework, which is kind of very underestimated when it comes to the that level of cost. Now, every discrepancy you catch late, post migration or post launch, cost exponentially more to fix it. Now, automated validation identifies those issues earlier before they trigger report delays, revenue impact, and so on. Now, data governance team love this part where automation enforces uniform validation procedures across all the reports. So whether it's Power BI or Tableau or Fabric, every data set meets the same standards. So it basically simplifies audits, no more panic before compliance reviews. Now, when it comes to a faster user adoption, something which is not really technical but definitely relates to trust and adoption. Now, when users see automated validation and clear data evidence, they trust faster. That means less pushback during migration, smoother change management, and better adoption of new BI system. And finally, this is where everything connects. Automation enables continuous delivery. In this modern, CI/CD pipelines, every data refresh or migration that can be validated automatically. You don't really need to slow down innovation to ensure quality. Now, manual testing simply can't keep up with the pace with rapid. This is all with the experience, iterative nature of BI in the cloud era. Automation bridges the gap. Now, we would like to look at a real-time example. What is the challenge? What it could cost at the migration at scale? Now, if you look at this scenario where a large global retail enterprise that decides to modernize their analytics stack. They had over 250 Tableau dashboards being migrated to Power BI as part of the cloud transformation initiative. It sounds like a straightforward modernization story, right? That you come across in multiple areas. But as the migration rolled out, some pretty serious data quality started to surface. Issues that could have easily derailed executive confidence, which could leave unchecked. The first red flag comes from schema conflicts, critical mismatches, missing data fields, started appearing between tabular extracts and Power BI models. A few column names, for example, on the data type changes in the source system goes unnoticed, and suddenly reports weren't reconciling. Now, next comes calculation variances. When they compared KPI between Tableau and Power BI, the numbers went off, sometimes by 5 to 8%. These weren't just round differences, they were caused by variations in how each platform handles formulated logics and filters. Now, then comes a validation bottleneck on manual testing. Definitely, each batch of reports took almost 3 weeks to validate. The BI team was caught up in a cycle of exporting, comparing, and rechecking visual by visual. Now imagine hundreds of dashboards, each with multiple filters and visual. It's basically an Excel Olympics. Now that delay started pushing project timelines and frustrating business users waiting to go live. And finally, report inconsistencies. About 12% of migrated reports displayed inconsistent metrics when it compared to source systems. These gaps led to tense review meetings, a lot of late night debugging, most importantly, an erosion of stakeholder trust. So this project could have turned into a data quality wake up call. Now, the migration wasn't about moving just the dashboard. It is exposing a lack of automated testing, governance, and the trust underlying the data. Now, that's where the automation becomes a game changer, transforming what was once painful reactive process into controlled, scalable, and trust-driven migration. Now, we will look into crisis to confidence. How is this migration journey going to have an impact? So we saw how the migration started off, what could be the usual suspects, schema mismatches, KPI variances, manual validation bottlenecks, and so on. Now here is the good part. The story doesn't end in all this, missing a lot of things. It ends in confidence. Let's look into how automation can completely change this whole scenario. This project involving migrating over 250 dashboards from Tableau to Power BI. That's hundreds of data sources, calculations, visuals, and parameters that has to be validated. Now, with automated validation baked into the process, every single dashboard went through consistent checks so the team could migrate at scale without losing sleep over data mismatches. Initially, KPI variances of 5 to 8% across the platform, which could be a huge red flag for executives. Once automated comparison scripts were deployed, every measure was benchmarked between Tableau and Power BI. Now think of it as an automated side-by-side testing, literally having Power BI and Tableau reports talking to each other until the numbers are matched. Before automation, the team was burning through 100 plus cycle hours just manually verifying dashboards, comparing various visuals, filters, and calculations. Once automated testing kicked in, validation time dropped nearly to 70%. That freed up analysts to focus more on the insights rather than inspection. Now, because of this validation, when it was manual, releases were always taking 3 weeks and 3 weeks behind the schedule. With automation integrated into CI/CD pipelines, every iteration ran its own data checks, meaning the team could validate continuously and ship on time. Basically, the data quality stopped being a blocker and became part of the delivery process. So this could have easily gone other way. The trust of the stakeholders could have taken a serious hit. Early in the migration, reports didn't line up. Every KPI discrepancy led to debates, but it could have been the turning point. That's exactly what happened once automation has come in. Now, this is the screenshot, where we tried out the Datagaps BI validator, which could compare a like-to-like, testing that happened, right, having a Tableau report on the left and the Power BI report on the right. So where it, exactly highlights the mismatches that had happened. So this was not just a migration success story. It was basically a mindset shift. Automated BI validation from a painful manual chore into business built-in scalable process. Now, moving on to what happens after you fix the cracks, automate validation and restore the confidence. You move on from firefighting mode to forward momentum. The next part is really about the ROI of trust. What you actually gain from data integrity becomes a built-in process of your whole BI process. So we've talked about how trust pays off, not in just confidence, but in measurable ROI. Now let's look into where that trust really starts to take shape across the analytics lifecycle. If you think about modern data stack, almost every stage has embraced automation. Well, almost every stage, I mean. Now we start with data ingestion. This part is usually in great shape. Automated pipelines already handle data collection and integration across multiple sources. Whether it's Azure Data Factory, Synapse pipelines, or Fabric data flows, ingestion has become faster, reliable, and repeatable. Next comes data modeling. Here too, automation plays a strong role. Tool transformation and structure raw data into clean, standardized data sets. You've got scripts, you've got DAX models, or even a semantic layer that can keep transformation consistent and auditable. So that by this point, your data is flowing smoothly and structurally perfectly for analysis. Then we get into data visualization, Power BI, Tableau, all using automated refresh, live connections, and dynamic visuals. Users can explore data instantly, slice and dice metrics, and build dashboard faster than ever before. Most organizations think, great, we've got automated stack, but there's one critical stage that gets overlooked. Here is the gap: data testing. While ingestion, modeling, visualizations are automated, testing often remains manual. Analysts still do spot checks, export to Excel, or eyeball dashboards to confirm numbers. That's where things start to break, because even when validations can't keep up the speed of analytics, errors slip through. So if every part of analytics has evolved into real time and automated, it's time for data testing caught up too. Automating assurance is what closes the loop. It's what keeps analytics both fast and trustworthy. Now, let's talk about what is really enabling enterprise level. This is where BI automation becomes not just helpful, but imperative. Because once you have automated validation, you're not just improving accuracy, you're building reliability into every stage of your analytic process. Now, purpose built for BI, reliability. We're not automating generic ETL testing. We are specifically addressing the unique challenges of Power BI, Tableau, and various other BI tools in our and other analytics ecosystem. Now, automation doesn't work in isolation. It has to fit into your enterprise landscape. So the platform integrates directly into your existing data pipelines, semantic models, and deployment workflows. No description, no rebuild. Whether the data are coming from Snowflake, Synapse, or Fabric, automation plugs in right in, right? Like adding a reliability layer over your entire BI stack. So now every dashboard, every data flow, every metric is continuously verified as part of the process. Now, from the outcome point of view, here's where it all comes together. With the automation in place, you gain four measurable benefits: time reduction, obviously, faster validation cycles, quicker delivery, accelerated deployments, automated checks, key projects moving out QA delays. Full audit trails, every validation steps into logged and traceable governance and compliance. Trusted insights, where executors finally see your data and can act on it confidently. Now, this particular slide I wanted to highlight on the strategic bridge between solution introduction and business value realization. So we have seen how BI automation closes the validation gap and establish measurable trust in analytics. But just let's zoom out for a second. What does that mean strategically? Now, where's the bigger opportunities for the organization investing in the modernization? That's where automation first validation frameworks comes into play, not just as a technical enhancement, but as a strategic enabler. Now, when you are migrating hundreds of dashboards or modernizing BI at enterprise scale, speed is everything. But speed without accuracy is definitely dangerous. By deploying automation first validation framework, you can scale analytics modernization confidently without sacrificing accuracy or stakeholder trust. In simple terms, you can move faster and stay right, no trade-off between agility and assurance. Now, there's another advantage where removing manual dependencies. Most BI testing still relies on the people manually comparing visuals, calculations and models. That's slowly error prone and unsustainable at scale for sure. Now, automation takes those bottlenecks out of equation. It validates across semantic models, data models, even visualization, outputs end to end, hand free. Now, if your BI team has ever spent, entire sprint just validating dashboards, you know exactly why this matters. Now, as this is a long game, continuous trust, once your migration is complete, automation does not stop. It keeps validating dashboards and data pipelines as they evolve, catching drift, schema changes, and metrics inconsistencies automatically. Now, that means trust isn't one-time achievement, it's becoming an ongoing living part of your BI ecosystem. So the real opportunity here isn't just about doing faster, it is about doing it smarter. Automation allows you to scale confidently, eliminating manual friction, build trust that cannot decay over time. Up next, now let's look into the business, benefits that translate into measurable outcomes: time saved, accuracy improved, and faster analytics delivery. The true ROI of automation. So if we go back to our BI migration story we spoke about some time back, remember how the biggest challenge wasn't the move from Tableau to Power BI itself, but what came after. Even after ingestion, modeling, visualizations are automated, there was still one crucial piece that is missing: testing and validation. So that's the last mile of BI automation. The part that decides whether your modernized environment truly earns stakeholder trust. So think about it. Organizations that have already automated ETL pipelines, data models, and even report refresh, but the actual process of validating those results, such as checking schemas, verifying KPIs, confirming totals, and various other numbers, still depends heavily on the manual review. Now, it's like finishing a marathon and stopping 100 meters before the finish line. You're almost there, but you're not quite done. So instead of waiting for the users to report the data issue, the system now prevents it. And that's where the actual transformation happens. And once automated assurance is embedded early in your analytics lifecycle, you move from reactive cleanup to proactive confidence. Executives start trusting dashboards faster, analysts stop wasting time validating, and migrations stop dragging for weeks. So automation doesn't just save effort, it strengthens the credibility across the BI ecosystem. Now that's the strategic advantage, turning your BI migration from one-time technical upgrade into long-term trust engine. So automation doesn't just complete the process, it elevates it. I would like to end with this line, and I hope you got better insights. I believe we are on time. Yeah. So that's about it, Matt. Thank you.
Great job, Sowjanya. Let's look and see if we have any questions. We do have a couple here.
Sure.
I'll put them up, and then we can answer them. All right. Let's start with: how did automation affect validation hours for the BI dashboards? Hello?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just not able to hear the question. Could you please repeat that?
Sure. It's up on the screen as well. How did automation affect validation hours for the BI dashboards?
Yeah, it's definitely, from the use case that I just spoke about, it's going to definitely cause a lot of time and effort, and obviously leading to a lot of cost impact. So, apart from analysts working for, weeks and multiple months just on the manual testing, it's also contributing towards the, trust factor and the confidence of the stakeholders. So it does definitely a big time impact.
Awesome. One more. We actually have two more questions. How do delayed rollouts impact the BI roadmap?
Sorry, could you repeat again? You want me to check at the...
Sure. How do delayed rollouts impact the BI roadmap?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the question. I'm sorry, I have a...
We can move on to another question. Let's move on to the next one. What were the most common schema conflicts that you found across the 25 Tableau to Power BI dashboards?
It could be many. The common schema conflicts could be on the metrics that we talk about and the formulas that we have as part of the whole, ecosystem. And definitely the way Tableau reads the data is different from how Power BI reads the data, especially when compared to what sort of data sets are they connecting to. When you look at, Tableau reports connecting the Snowflake, it has a different way of understanding the data when compared to how Power BI does. So yeah, there could be a lot of conflicts that we can talk about here.
Okay, and the final question: what do you check with Datagaps before every dashboard goes live?
Datagaps actually gives a wide comparison about how the UI format varies from Tableau. For example, we've done a good amount of testing between Tableau report versus Power BI report. So I believe the major categories that helped us is on the UI conflicts, how the font is different from the actual dashboard to this dashboard, how the visualization is not very much aligned in terms of how the data labels are represented, what sort of font that is kind of differing, and the type of visual that is being used in other dashboards. So quite a lot of understanding that we get out of the comparison between the two. From the screenshot that I showed during my presentation, if you look at, we also have a text comparison that Datagaps does it. In terms of where it is positioned, what sort of font that is being used, how is the sequence of the text that is being displayed on the report. Yeah, these are the few examples.
That's excellent. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. I think we've wrapped up. Thank you very much for spending your time with us and sharing your insights. It's extremely valuable. And again, thank you for your time. And we'll continue on to the closing remarks here shortly.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
For further questions, feel free to reach contact@datagaps.com. Request a free demo, scan the QR code below. Thank you.